Hey Ken, welcome to Kinfolk Unscripted.
I'm Chanel, a straight stay-at-home mom of a preschooler.
And I'm Artisa, a queer married, hopefully soon-to-be first-time mama.
This is a podcast amplifying Black and queer presence in wellness, family building, and intentional living. Unfiltered conversations, honest experiences, and the joy of figuring it out together.
Every single time we finish that, I be wanting to go, woo woo, just like something, a little razzle dazzle.
I literally was going to be like, ka-chow.
No, the urge is insane.
I know. The suppression also is insane because it's like, maybe we should insert a little like sound. That would be cute.
Ring a ding ding.
Yeah.
So y'all, we do not have a clip today. Well, we have a clip, but it's not a clip that I can play. It is a YouTube video of, if you are on the same parts of YouTube that I am on, then that would be the homesteading streets, because I am obsessed. That's a conversation for a different day. But Epic Gardening, his name is Kevin Espiritu. He's, I think, like Filipino or something, live in San Diego. Anyway, he came to Chicago and interviewed the person who was the head of creating the gardens and the like landscaping for the Obama Presidential Center. I sent this video to Chanel earlier this week. She watched it. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. So y'all should pause, go watch the video, and then come back so we can chit chat about it. So now that y'all are back from going to watch this video, first off, this shit make me cry. I was like literally, and I know that I'm PMSing, like I am absolutely in my luteal phase, but the intentionality that they put into those grounds, I mean, even from the them like collecting stormwater and using the old trees to like inoculate the current brought in soil, I was super blown away. If you did not do your homework or what I just told you to do and did not go pause the video and go listen to the one that we're talking about, essentially the head of this project walks Kevin through the decisions that they made when doing these grounds. The Obama Presidential Center was built on Jackson Park, just in the Woodlawn neighborhood, which is like south of Hyde Park, south of University of Chicago's campus. And it's public land, public space that they built the Obama Presidential Center on. And what's so amazing about this is that Obama decided to keep it public space, right? So it's not just like this big ass, very ugly building to me. I don't know who they had.
I actually haven't seen what it looks like.
You didn't see it in the video?
I haven't seen pictures. Pictures of the.
It's in the video.
I don't know. I was looking at the plants. I have no idea
Could not
what that building looks like. I have no idea what that building looks like.
For those who are watching, this is what the building looks like.
It's blurry, but I'll Google it.
It's no bueno to my aesthetic and to my piece. It looks like a big ass marble fortress. That's going to be a no for me for many reasons. I
Tornadoes can't get through.
Yeah, maybe. But it kind of looks very militant and military. Not militant, but it looks like very military kind of vibe that, I don't know. It just doesn't go with the rest of the intentionality that they've had with this space. But essentially, like what I was saying was that Obama has kept this center very community-based. In this video, they don't talk about this, but on the center is a public library. There is they call it home court, which is a recreational center that has a full NBA regulation basketball court, because we know Obama loves basketball. Black
And
kids
so do
from the
niggas.
hood. Exactly. Niggas in general love basketball. And so he created this space that was intended, even the landscape architecture is intended for people to be in the space, enjoying the space, and with a very huge eye to like kids of all ages, even teenagers. And I thought it was so so beautiful. I'm like, and I think there's a piece too that is like, we have a absolute jackass as a president right now, and then the contrast, and that's not to say that Obama is perfect, and also Trump could never,
Mm-hmm.
Biden could never either. Let's be clear, they could never.
But the desire is not even there. I think that's where it starts with, like, Obama does actually care about people and his community, and community in general. So I think that speaks volumes to, like, why it looks the way it does. I just looked at the picture. I don't have a problem with it. I actually think it's pretty cool. It goes up really tall. They got the, like, black part mixed in with it. Yeah. On the grounds itself, like, I thought everything was very cool. I also like to watch Epic Gardening's videos. He's super knowledgeable and very cool. And I loved all the conversations showing the breakdown of everything that they put in and the intentionality. But I think, I don't know, I've been to quite a few botanical gardens and kids spaces, and, like, I feel like it's just kind of similar to that
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, because, like, like, at the zoo, they have, like, full on garden beds for kids to go and, like, touch and feel and water and, like, all this stuff. At the children's museum, again, they have, like, huge ass gardens, mixed in with play stuff and all that. You go to the botanical gardens and they have, well, depending on which ones you go to, but they're fucking huge. But they have things for all ages, like from old all the way down to young. They have their own dedicated, like, children's gardens and things that, like, smell super good and stuff for little hands. And so I feel like it is akin to, like, these other public spaces that have families involved in creating the spaces
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that
Mm-hmm.
it's accessible to people of all ages and abilities. So I am proud of him for, like, continuing that. It seems like that whoever that master gardener was on the job was super knowledgeable. I mean, the stuff he was saying, some stuff, I mean, I have not heard of taking, and I'm sure, like, also I feel like I'm very much still a newbie, but taking old decrepit trees that you would have not been able to do nothing else with and making sure that they break down in that soil, like, that I have not seen, nor have I heard of. I'm sure people are doing that in their own yards and things, but on a large scale like that.
But also,
Um,
what was cool about that is not just so that it breaks down, right? It was the reasoning for the behind the breaking down. He like also connected it to legacy, right? And like talking about how this space is Obama's legacy. And so what does it
mm-hmm,
look like to also continue the legacy of the land and the
exactly.
way that the land was prior to them having to do all of this construction and bring in all of this
Mm-hmm.
non-native soil and things like that. It's a way to create this continuity between the
Yeah,
places, right? And I just thought that
yeah.
was so beautiful.
It's super thoughtful, and it's making sure that the ecosystem continues regardless of what you have done to it.
Right.
So, which is super important, especially when we're thinking about gardening and climate change and things of that nature. So, yeah, but I thought it was very cool, and I can't wait to
Yeah.
visit. I don't know when that's going to be.
I think
Yeah,
too,
but yeah.
like what I think is so interesting about this is that it's an unprecedented use, right? It's precedented in a botanical garden or a children's museum or whatever, but for a presidential, essentially a political space, right? Like a president's museum, for him to be like, it's not just going to be a fortress, even though it looks like one. It's not just going to be a fortress to, oh, I did good. Let me pat myself on the back. Here is showing off my legacy. It is also going to be a place that reaches into the future, right? That
Hmm.
encourages the neighborhood, that encourages the kids around it, that is an actual asset to the community. And now, being like living in Chicago, I'm not a Chicagoan, but living in Chicago, I there's a lot of talk about the Obama Presidential Center, and specifically in conversation with gentrification. There's quite a few things, and that's not to debunk any of that. Even though I do have questions, I just need to understand it a little bit more where people are coming from with that. But even so, I think our conversation around gentrification gets murky because I think that there is a way that we don't acknowledge and say we deserve more public spaces, right? We deserve in our neighborhoods, we deserve more public spaces. And so like how do we get all of it, right? Like how do we not get displaced out of our homes while also still having access to public space right in our neighborhood, not having to leave it to go do that. And so, yeah, I was really moved by the intentionality around really creating accessible public space for the immediate community of
Right.
Woodlawn.
Yeah, I think that is part of the conversation, though. And I think that's why there's a lot of tension because gentrification happens when you're trying to push the people out who have been there and supported the community for, generations and move other people in to benefit from the better things that the people who have already been there have been asking for and
Right,
needing or putting together themselves, but it's being shut down and it's being redlined and it's being, taken away. So yeah, I definitely think like obviously people in these communities want these things. We pay taxes so that people in these communities can have these things, but they don't go toward these things. They
right,
go toward trying to make the community different for other people to be able to experience it. And
right.
so I can definitely see why like this center is extremely emotional and pivotal
Yeah,
because it is in the community for the people that live there. It's for everybody, but let's be real. It's on the south side of Chicago.
right.
So we know exactly what, and we know where they're from. So we know exactly like who it's for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of conversation about how it is already changing property taxes and property values over in that neighborhood and things like that.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think that
sure.
they're
Yeah.
ultimately from a gentrification standpoint, it's like this is about legislation. We need more legislation around not displacing and rent control. And there's just so many
Hmm.
things that it's like let's not necessarily we should be attacking corporations absolutely, but not the small businesses that are moving into our neighborhoods. We should be actually demanding that there is legislation that supports people being able to stay sustainably in
Yeah.
their neighborhoods, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, anyway, y'all go ahead and watch the video. Now obviously the video did not get political like that. We got political because we can't help I can't help it, right? Like there's no separating. But if you want to go see a really pretty garden and some very cute playgrounds and play structures that look like native plants and native habitats, watch the video. It's very sweet. Get your ticket, go see the Obama Presidential Center. It's fantastic. And with that said, what's up with you?
My what's up with me is going to be very short, very serious. All I have to say is um, RIP and justice for Nolan Wells.
Mm,
Yeah, there's pretty much nothing else that's been on my mind as much as that. And at this point that we're recording, there was an audio that was released and cleaned up by just a good Samaritan. And so people are still just kind of waiting to see, what that's going to bring. I hope it continues. I hope it furthers them bringing justice to whoever was involved in what happened. But yeah,
yeah.
and that's all I got on that.
Yeah.
What's up?
I have been very far removed from the Nolan Wells story, but it's just, yeah, I can imagine specifically for you how, when you have a kid, I can't even imagine how those stories land when you actually have a Black human being that you are responsible for. Because I know how it lands for those of us who are just Black without children, right? But to have one, and I know that I will experience that one day. But yeah, for the what do they call that? What is it when it's like trauma that is experienced secondhand trauma? The secondhand trauma.
Jesus, I don't think I knew that word, that term.
Yeah.
I won't get, too deep into it. I mean, because it's just going around everywhere and all that. And I know that everybody, especially like with our listeners being mostly Black, like I'm not going to do that. I know why Black people decide to not listen and not be involved and not constantly be in tune to the next person that's been killed. But yeah, it is hard. I mean, it's something that you think about before the kid even comes, and then to constantly be reminded that this is something that happens. Yeah, it's awful. Is not does not even begin, to describe the feeling that you get in the depths of your stomach. But more so, I'm just really thinking about his parents. I mean, I cannot fathom what they're going through, and then to have to constantly fight to figure out what happened to him on top of losing their kid is just unimaginable. So I do hope that justice is swift and intense
in this life and the next.
Yeah.
I saw this thing on Threads today, and it was this dad, and he posts his son, his Black son, saying he's going to camp, and the
Oh
picture
yeah, I
of
saw that.
everybody else. You saw the same one? It was all white
Yeah.
boys. And he's like, of course I had the Nolan Wells talk with him, and everybody in the comments is like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because there isn't a talk. The talk is yo ass isn't going.
Right.
So sorry that the world is set up like this. If I could change it in a heartbeat, I would. And also, I must keep you safe. And I was just like, it's really interesting the different approaches to the realities of, being Black in this country, and specifically the realities of raising your child in a predominantly white environment. I'm assuming that was what was happening.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really want to bring that up because I'm not trying to shame the parents. I know that every parent is just trying to do what's best for their kid. And sometimes that means living in a certain place and going to a certain school. I mean, he was an athlete also, so they're looking for the best school for him, best chances for college and stuff like that. So I definitely get it. And I think his mom grew up there too, like in that
city. You're talking about
So,
Nolan Wells' parents?
Yeah.
Okay. I was specifically talking about this man on Threads. What I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think people just be doing shit for clickbait because obviously he knew that. I don't know. It's just really annoying, honestly. I saw it and scrolled past because I was just like, this is so irritating. You know what I mean? This boy is dead, first of all. And you're trying to get likes, based on, and comments and engagement based on that, essentially. And I just
there with it. I thought it was
sincere. No, that's what's happening. There's so many people that are just saying different things that don't have anything to do with the fucking case. It's not about you or the fact that you let your kid go on some trip with all these white boys after this happened. That's a personal decision that I will never understand. But
I disagree that it's not about them. I disagree with that. Because I think that the reason why, because no, the case isn't obviously about him, right? Like that isn't about him. But the impact, because again, secondary trauma is a thing, and it is a thing for any of us who live in Black skin and go out and actually get identified as Black, not the motherfuckers who just say, oh, I'm Black but look white. That y'all can hold that bag on their own. But the motherfuckers who walk out every single day and have no choice but being recognized as a Black person, this experience it's going to affect you, right? And if you are a Black person with a child, it is about you, right? Especially if you are a Black person with a child who is in an all white situation, like mostly all white situations. I mean, I even just think about myself, right? Like I grew up in schools that were mostly white. So immediately there is a what if, could have kind of an experience. People can only internalize their experiences.
I mean, definitely. I mean, that's part of the reason it's so hard to put Oakley in school now is because I'm constantly thinking about she can't be the only one. That is just something that I can't have, and it's constant battle conversation for another time. But my issue is you took a picture of him with these white boys, then you decided to post it on the internet, then you decided to make this caption about Nolan Wells conversation. It's just look at me. That's what I'm seeing. I don't know. I just feel like I've seen a lot of different posts and they're all giving the same, And that's really where I'm coming from with it. Cause like you could have had that conversation. Why do we all need to know about it? And now be like, why are you even allowing it? Like Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming from because I do like threads. I don't know where that accent came from, but I do like threads, but it's still a little baity, you know? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
anywho,
Yeah, I guess it didn't land that way for me. But I also am like, is it because I'm naive that people would be using this kind of situation as clickbait? I guess maybe it's my own naivete. It's just,
I don't
that's
know. I saw
insane.
other videos that were doing like similar stuff, and that's when I was just like, okay, this is like a trend, you know? And it just, I don't know.
That's so fucking
Sometimes,
gross.
yeah, I think sometimes people are not necessarily doing it on purpose. Sometimes, you know, they are, but I just think engaging in social media is very odd in general, you know, and so it can get really dicey with what you're jumping on the bandwagon of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, anywho, what's up
Gross.
with you?
That's fucking gross. What is up with me? I don't know. My brain is not even there anymore. I think on a completely different note, Mars and I have been in couples therapy and it has been really good. I'm not going to get too
That's
personal,
so good.
but I just think that, I don't know, I was having this moment today where I was just like, I'm really grateful for the intentional space and to also not always having to be engaging with therapy from a place of crisis. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like obviously our ain't shit nothing's perfect in life. And still like to be able to just talk about stuff in our relationship that we're like, oh, this could be a little bit better. Or, oh, this, these little things. I don't know. It's like, I'm really grateful for that space and that time. Yeah. I think we had therapy today. So that was the thing that was on my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's really good. And a lot of people will successful, and by successful, I mean like healthy marriages, people will tell you that like you should start seeing someone before anything's wrong. That way
Yeah.
you have tools in your back pocket and have someone to be there in your marriage corner and help you through. So it is nice. That's really good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
too, like when I was thinking about it, we were talking about some, personal stuff today. And both of us were like, this is something that we want to make sure that we have a little bit of a better understanding around before having a kid. Cause it's like,
right.
once you have a kid, like everything I'm not going to say it gets harder, but it just highlights any cracks. It seems like it highlights any cracks there. So it was just kind of nice. It was like, oh, this is its own preconception, right? Going to
Hmm.
therapy is its own kind of preconception prep. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's really good. Yeah. You know how we have been looking for one, and then we had that one that I was just like, we were both like, that's not gonna work. That was so crazy. But it took a while to be able to meet with another one because we have to do it at night,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not a lot of therapists available at night, Black ones at that.
Right.
So yeah, but Manny actually found this one, and yeah, we tried to meet with her like 3 weeks ago, and she just canceled that day, and we were like, this is not a good sign. So
No.
we, yeah, I was like, we are never gonna find a fucking therapist. And then we rescheduled, and he messaged her, hey, we want to make sure this is good, and she's, oh yeah, it's fine. So we met, and I think it's a really great fit. So I'm
Okay,
really
good.
happy. Yeah, it was this week actually. So
Okay.
yeah, on that day, we do the latest time possible. We put Oakley to bed early that night, and then we just, you know, yeah. So we'll see
That's
how it
great.
goes. But I was like, I have good feelings. I got good feelings about this. I'm very happy, and yeah. So
That's awesome.
more power to couples counseling.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm like, I swear to God, I just think that, especially anyone that's listening to this and is newly long term partnered. And when I mean long term partner, I mean, you could do this even if not, but if you're with the person that you're like, I'm about to be with, this is a done deal, go ahead and get into the therapy. You ain't even got to wait for something to be wrong. You ain't got to wait to be like, oh, we're gonna have a baby. You don't have to none of that. Just go and get into therapy. We need to be tending and watering our relationships. And we don't always have all the tools to be able to do that. So therapy
Yeah.
does not have to be the last motherfucking resort.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was seeing this video yesterday that was talking about, I think it was a pastor, but he was talking about how like the vows in marriage are like, they don't make sense. Did you see that video?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And basically, like, it's somewhat that they're archaic, but they're really like not, they don't talk about, they say everything you're not supposed to do. Like, if you do the traditional
Yes.
vows, which
Yes.
we did not, but regardless, like, they don't say what you should do, what you will do. And what needs to be a part of what you will do is grow with that person and expect that they're going to change and that you're going to need to meet that change. That
Mm-hmm.
requires you to also change with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and accept who they are becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And, as someone who's been with a person for, I don't know actually how many years, but like, to see all those iterations, like it absolutely does require you to like rise, to that occasion on both fronts and figure out who you need to be for that person. And so I think thinking about like being with somebody long term is deciding whether or not you want to commit to that,
Yeah.
you know, and when you are ready to commit to that specifically, not just, oh, I'm just going to take care of you when you get sick, you know what I mean? Which, yes, that is definitely part of it. But I will be there when you start to look a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
when you start to
Mm-hmm.
feel a little bit different, when I start to feel a
Mm-hmm.
little bit different, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a kid anymore, or I'm not in
Mm-hmm.
my early 20s anymore,
Yeah. Or
So
shit, I'm
I
not
thought
in
that
my
was
50s anymore. I'm in my 70s. I mean,
exactly.
any of
Well,
it.
yeah, I don't know what that feels like, but yeah. No, but absolutely. So yeah, I was just like, I really like the way he had put it. And yeah, and I thought that was, very accurate. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, this is not a marriage episode. If you are interested in listening to us talk about marriage, we do have an episode on marriage and love. I think it is
ew.
episode 3. So go ahead and just scroll back up. It's not that many from this one, so I promise you're going to find it. But today, we're going to talk about preconception. And we had our first preconception episode a few weeks back. We talked about preparing for a baby emotionally, spiritually, relationally. That is where we kind of rooted this conversation. Today, we're going to talk about the physicality of preparing for a baby. We're talking about diet. We're going to be talking about your labs. We're going to be talking about detoxing the house. It's like all the things that are physical and impact the physical body in preparing for a pregnancy. And so when I say pregnancy, I want to also be very clear that this conversation is going to be tailored around specifically my and Chanel's experience in doing this or not doing this. And both of us are AFAB people. We got ovaries and some eggs. That's what we working with.
Not you telling my business.
I'm so sorry. But that is what this conversation is going to be about. And so there are so many ways to prepare and to be in a preconception journey. Unfortunately, I can't talk about those things. So I'm only talking about it from the perspective of somebody that's got eggs and that is also going to be carrying a pregnancy. Because also, if you got eggs and you don't want to carry no goddamn pregnancy, shout out to you. And two, this is it, the preconception is just going to look a little different. So saying that up front so that all the folks with all the parts and all of the different desires can also understand. Oh, one more caveat, because I got to have my little caveats at the beginning. I am not a doctor. I'm not no doctor. I'm not no scientist. Okay, I am a human being that does some research, that is actively in a preconception journey myself. Chanel is also not a doctor yet, and is doing, has lived experience and research, and that is all that we can speak from. So do with that as you will, and do it based off of your own will and not ours. Yeah.
Word.
Any other Cause I don't want to have to do the shit we forgot to say. And it was like, it's not medical.
I mean,
Any
hey,
other
that's why
thing.
they're there. That's why it's there, you know. And no, I'm not caveating anything because I'm tired of this. I don't want to be constipating myself. Okay. She said it. That's it. So if you have questions, please follow up. Otherwise, please, you know, listen and join the convo.
Govern yourselves accordingly. All right. So highly recommend going back and listening to our first preconception episode. But just as a little kind of refresher, if you have not, preconception is, people tend to say, the for like the 6 months prior to wanting to conceive, but it can be as long as you want it to before. But how I see it is kind of the time that you're like, I want to do this thing and I want to do it soon. Preconception is that period to really prepare yourself, mind, body, soul, financially, relationally, for bringing a new human into the world. I have been thinking a lot about the fact that, and I'm going to use this language, and this is me being a little bit of an asshole, but I'm going to use it. Motherfuckers be too casual about having a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Way too casual to me. Niggas just be, oops, let's do it. Ain't got the money to do it, ain't got the emotional regulation to do it, ain't even looking to have the fucking emotional relationship, because it's okay if you don't have it at that time, right? But at some point you might want to work on those skills. I'm sick of that. First off, because that's why we got all these traumatized motherfuckers running around in these streets wreaking havoc hither and yon.
Menace. Straight menace to society.
Listen.
Wait, what did that one say? He's a menace.
Oh shit. So there's a way that I'm like, I feel like, people might look at preconception and be like, that's fucking overkill, bro. And it's, yeah, maybe for some folks. And I still am gonna look at you like, you might want to have some overkill. You might want to get a little bit of overkill for you, you know? But for me, I think that is really speaking to the mental emotional, but on the physical level as well. Anything you got going on with your body, if it's a knee that's a little cranky, right? If it's a digestion system that just got a little bit too much going on, or if it's something even more chronic, from everything that I've heard, pregnancy is not gonna make that shit better. Like, it's just,
I will say it made my GERD much better. Okay.
really?
Yes, significantly. I was taking medication for GERD before. And then when I was pregnant, I wasn't taking it. So I was just dealing with the harshness of that reality. And then afterward, I'm so much better. So I'll just say that.
That's
everything
amazing.
else, probably not.
That's amazing. That's the first time I've ever heard somebody say that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen to everyone, but that happened to me, and I'm so thankful. And I deserve that. So
you do deserve that. Well, outside of Chanel and her GERD, for the most part, if you got something going on, it is not going to get better. And not only is it not going to get better, now you have a whole fucking human that you are responsible for. And then also you have to have the energy and the resources to be able to care for, right? Here comes in preconception. Why, for me, I think it is so important, and why I have put a really big importance on it for myself and for my life. Because I got shit going on. I got gut issues. I got a knee that's fucked up, that's been fucked up for years. I got all kinds of stuff going on. Apparently, a pelvic floor that's sucked up to the fucking heavens. Not really, it's not that big a deal, but just being dramatic. There are things that I know is more than likely going to get worse if I am not well resourced in pregnancy, right? If you are carrying a child, you are creating that child out of what is in that body. It is what you eat, not just when you are pregnant, but also before as well. And so preconception is a way to give yourself a leg up. And The truth of the matter is, most of us didn't even know that was a thing that we should be trying to do, you know? Didn't enter into motherhood in that way or into parenthood in that way. And I want to offer a few stats as well. A 2024 study on US women of reproductive age, this is very binary stats, found high rates of magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin E deficiency among pregnant women, plus consistently low intake of choline, potassium, vitamin K, and several other key nutrients like vitamin A, C, iron. That is to say, so many of us are going into carrying a child, and we already are not starting with the best that we could be starting with, even just to be functioning for ourselves, right? And then if you also talk about the maternal mortality rates, we know that also Black women, I'm going to say Black AFAB folks, are at a disproportionate risk for mortality. And now there's a lot of reasons for that, a lot of them being racism. And also, when you are also coming in at a deficit from a health perspective, that doesn't help, that doesn't support. And so for me, again, I just think that there's this really big way that like preconception can just be this really beautiful opportunity. And as a queer person, there is no oops for most of us. Most of us
Mm-hmm.
cannot oops. We cannot just make love to our beloved and it end with a pregnancy. Some of us can, but most of us cannot. And on top of that, we have to tend to spend a fuck ton of money to make the baby happen. And so it would behoove us also to make sure our bodies are well prepared so that we're not just spending thousands and thousands of dollars on each cycle trying to get pregnant, and there might be underlying things that are going on that can be addressed. So we're going to talk about that. Thoughts before we get into it, Chanel?
I have one thought on
Yeah.
the maternal mortality in that conversation. I think, well, obviously, I agree with mostly everything about preconception. It can be invaluable. Also, I mean, you can do everything you possibly can and things still don't go. I mean, you literally cannot plan pregnancy. So I just want to put that out there because I just don't want anyone to have into their mind that things will go and not to say that it'll go like bad or anything like that, but like you just can't plan it, you know? So it's just like taking a trip. You know, you get to the airport, oh great, now the flight's delayed. You know what I mean? It's just like certain things that you just can't do. But you packed everything you were supposed to pack, all, you know, all well before you researched the whole hotel, all that kind of stuff, you know? So I just want to put that out there. And then just also everybody's ability may be different, you know, with finances and familial support and, you know, if they're working 100-hour work weeks versus, you know, 40-hour work weeks and, you know, their mental health states and things like that. You know, if you are a person who is prone to depression and you're actively like working through that or have been your whole life versus someone who hasn't dealt with that, it can look very different as to what you're able to do, you know, in terms of preconception and how well, I guess, I'm trying to find the right word. I guess, how well equipped you might be, or really just the mental capacity for
Mm-hmm.
all the things, you know? So it could look very different for everybody. And I think just defining what that looks like for you, you know, personally, but absolutely thinking about it, you know, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Having a baby
Yeah.
on a whim is crazy, but you know what I mean?
Feeling
But yeah, but thinking about what that looks like for you could be helpful. I'm not here to give advice about it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, whatever's in your capacity. Because the truth of the matter is that's anything in our lives, whatever our things are, is going to make anything in our lives more complicated or less complicated or whatever, right? And so, including having that damn kid. I mean, if you gonna get pregnant regardless, you know? So it's just like there is a way that's like you have to do everything within your capacity and within your scope. And I think that too, my intention is to never be like one prescriptive or two shame. There's no shame. I think I've said this in almost every episode that we have. You need to do what the fuck you want to do. Like end of story, point blank. End of story, point blank. All I can speak to is what I'm going to do or what I'm doing and the reasons why I'm doing that. So take that, another caveat. Another caveat.
Well, asterisk. But I've been seeing, because, you know, intentional parenting is so, it's the bee's knees.
Yeah.
Currently, which I absolutely love. But I'm seeing, you know, a lot of people that are getting pregnant are being very intentional about their pregnancies, you know, just from people online and like people that I'm personally close with. And it was just really amazing to see, like, it seems like more people are involved in doing that, you know, our generation. And I really do love that for us as a collective. So, yeah.
Me too. And I think too, I think the truth of the matter is that all of it looks different in different generations, right? You know, there's generations before us that they were doing what was the most intentional for them at that time based off of the information that they had, right?
Yeah.
And we are doing that based off of the information that we have. And
there's an endless supply of that shit, and it's
which is overwhelming. And our kids, if they decide to have kids, will do that in a different I feel like in some ways it's like every generation they just kind of up the ante with it. And I think that's beautiful. Yeah. And also I'm like, I don't know what the fuck it's going to look like if our kids have kids, because how much more information can there be?
I don't know, but I don't know. It just makes me excited seeing the way that kids talk to each other and are learning different things and how people are parenting. It really makes me excited to see what those kids are going to be like as adults and the types of choices they will make. So, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Can we like fast forward?
Rewind.
Yep. Rewind. Thank you. Can we rewind 5.5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a little bit before then. Talk about preconception for you, right? Like
physically.
Yeah, the physical preconception, because I know that there was a time where you were like, I want to have a baby, and then there was some prep, right?
Right.
Walk back like what you did. I mean, we're going to keep talking about diet and all of that kind of stuff, but I'm curious, put your head back in that space. Where were you at?
Okay, so we were living in an apartment at the time with a family member because we were saving for our house, and we had just moved back from California. That's the reason we had came back, is to buy a house. And I'm very like, this is the goal, this is happening. So that's like goal number one. Then at that time, we're thinking like, Manny is more so the one talking about, oh, like, want to have a kid. And I'm like, interesting, you know? And then I'm like ruminating on him, you know, I think maybe I do want to have a kid. And so I'm literally going to like fertility clinic. You know, I have been off birth control for a little bit because I was on it for like years. So I'm getting like, you know, the count done, and they're looking at my ovaries, they're doing all this stuff, you know? And I was concerned because my periods are super irregular that maybe there would be an issue. And so that's why I was going there. And at that time, me and him were working out. We also were meal prepping, probably the most consistently we've ever meal prepped. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I wasn't like counting calories and stuff like that, but like just trying to make sure I was eating like what was good for my body. I had just got done with seeing a naturopathic doctor in LA. So I was seeing a naturopathic doctor here. I had just found one. I was on she had done like the IgE test to see what my sensitivities were. So I was cutting out, you know, different things and slowly reintroducing them. So I was doing like all that stuff. And part of that, like, I didn't have the term preconception like in my head or anything like that. But part of that would just be to be the healthiest version for myself. That is what I wanted. That's what we both wanted for ourselves. Even before that, in LA, I had started getting blood work done regularly. I know that diabetes runs in my family, so I was trying to make sure I wasn't even close to like pre-diabetes. So I was like, I was being hella extra, like, take my blood, make sure I'm not free, right? That's not even a thing. So I went, you know, and I got it done. And she was just like, you know, you should probably like lay off the sweets. Like I was not pre-diabetic, but she was like, this could be in your future based on like where this number is at and how you eat and stuff. I do like sweets. So anyway, I lay out sweets here and there. That's not important. So that's what we were doing at that time. And I, really thought that I wanted to get pregnant. And so like, that was pretty much the bulk of like the physical stuff. Then I hope I didn't tell the story already, but to like that they heard. But anyway, my birthday had came up. Wait, yeah, I still live there. My birthday had came up. But right before my birthday, I had decided like, I don't know if I really want to do this. Like I'm 25, I think at the time. And I'm like, we still have time, right? Like, what's the rush? At that, I had always thought I wanted 2 kids. I'm like, I probably only want 1, I just don't really know if I want to go down that route right now.
House at this point.
We had not yet.
You hadn't, okay.
No. And so then I find out Chadwick Boseman died. And that just kind of like wrecked me. Like he was so young, and it was unexpected for us. Obviously, he had been battling cancer for a long time. And then I'm like, you go through that whole spin of like, oh my God, life's so short. And maybe I should like have a baby and like all this stuff, which really doesn't make sense because like life is short. Why are you procreating? But then I don't know. But so then I go back down this thing of like, oh my God, I want to get pregnant, And eventually I just decided again, I don't think so, So I had gone back and forth in my head about it quite a bit. And then, then we moved into the house, and that was in June of that year, 2021. And we moved in. I was still in that mode of, I think I want to wait until I'm like 30 or closer to 30. And at this point I'm 27. So I fast forwarded a little bit, but it had been 2 years of me being like, probably not, And then I had started working out again, and there's a gym right by our house. I started working out with my cousin, who was a personal trainer, very built. And I was like, gonna, start making sure that my body is in its best place again, So went down that route. I had gone to the gym once with him.
That's some sick shit.
Once, because first of all, I have worked out on and off for years, and I do push myself. I wasn't just, I don't know what happened but I had to excuse myself to go to the bathroom. And when I tell you I barely made it to the bathroom because I had projectile vomited all over the fucking sink. I had never in my life experienced that kind of like, where I can't control myself, So after that, he was like, I know you just went to the bathroom and threw up. So we're done here. Let's do this a different day. And I was like, who somebody told you? Because I was going to keep pushing through. That wasn't going to stop me from getting my gains. We know how I feel about the gains, y'all. So anyway, that was that. I then went on a trip to Miami for a bachelorette, came back a few days later, took a pregnancy test, bada boom, bada bam. So that's pretty much just how it happened. And the preconception was done for, because at that point I was just like, so this is happening, and I feel like that was the bulk of it. I mean, I think in general, I'm just very much a person who cares about health, and I would have tried to do anything regardless for my mental health, physical health to be where I needed to be. It didn't really matter whether or not I was going to have a baby, but once I found out that I was pregnant, I started to focus more heavily on mental stuff compared to the physical. So that's how that happened. And I did not go back to work out with my cousin because he couldn't be pushing me like that when I was already pregnant. I just could not be working out that hard when I wasn't already doing that. That made no sense. Yeah. So I just stuck to walking.
You said I did what I could do. It's kind of interesting because you kind of went through all the steps. Everything that we about to talk about, you kind of did. I know it wasn't like you hadn't organized it and made a spreadsheet and had things checked off the list, but you did it. Even with the maybe now,
it would have been nice
now.
Though.
You said what?
It would have been nice though. It's nothing like doing a little check mark,
I know, earth signs. We love a program and we love to be able to stick to it, Hey, Ken. We are interrupting this episode because it was far too juicy, and we've decided to break it up into two parts. So, to finish this episode, meet us back here in 2 weeks, and we will continue to have this really nourishing conversation about how to prepare the preconception body. All right, and that's it. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, Ken.